Begin the Public Health, Safety, and Transportation Committee agenda. It is 4 o'clock exactly, October 8th, 2024. Please call the roll.
Chairperson Mike Seville.
Present.
Vice Chair Bill Donnell.
Present.
Alderwoman Wani Garza.
Present.
Alderman John Lash.
Present.
Alderman Tim Masiakos.
Present.
5 present.
Okay. First item on the agenda is approval of the minutes, 24-0722.
Second.
Approval of the minutes for the PHS&T meeting held on September 24th, 2024. It's been moved by Alderman Masiakos, second by Alderwoman Garza. Any corrections, additions, or deletions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. 3-0. Any members of the public wishing to give comment?
No one has signed up.
Okay, we'll go to the agenda then. 24-0737, a resolution establishing the maximum number of Class D downtown core on-site consumption liquor licenses unofficially related to the application from Art House Aurora LLC, DBA Art House at 5 East Galena Boulevard, Ward 2. Jennifer, welcome.
Good afternoon, Jennifer Stalling, City Clerk. Mr. Chair, can we perhaps place this after the other item? I am expecting the applicant to be here, but he is running a little late.
That'd be great, happy to.
Great, thank you.
So let's move to the next one then, 24-0749. And this is a resolution seeking City Council authorization to apply for the State of Illinois Community Development Block Grant Coronavirus CDBG CV Healthy Houses Program Grant in an amount not to exceed $2 million to preserve multifamily landlord-owned low to moderate income units up to 6 units total and encourage neighborhood revitalization with an emphasis on maintaining health and safety. Chris, welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chris Regona, Director of Community Services. So this is one of the first steps to be taken in order to take advantage of this state opportunity. Normally, because the City of Aurora is its own entitlement, typically we can't apply for block grant funds coming directly from the state. However, the CARES Act enacted a waiver for some of the CV funds that they received to allow entitlements to apply. So think about the shelter expansion dollars that we applied for a few months ago that we received for Hesed House and Mutual Ground, which we received. This is another opportunity for us to apply. So the focus on this would be for HVAC improvements for rental properties. This would be for single-family homes that are rented or multifamily structures with 6 or less units. This could be for air conditioning, air purifiers, air quality improvements, furnaces, and then some of the other components that go with that. So potentially ductwork, electrical, things that you would potentially need to upgrade in some of our older housing stock. While a formal policy has not been written for applicants, we would wait until we would receive funding to draft that. We would be looking to prioritize landlords in good standing, landlords who were impacted by the pandemic, focus on improved air quality, and then, really look to try and assist our low to moderate income tenants. When you replace HVAC improvements, you often increase the efficiency, which reduces the total cost of their bills, which goes into our affordable housing component. So with that, we'd be looking to hold a public hearing at the October 22nd City Council meeting, and then we'd be finishing up our application to submit at the beginning of November. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Chris? Alderman Donnell?
So how would folks be notified, and what does that application process look like?
So that's a good question. If we were to be awarded funds, we would certainly want to work with our Property Standards Division, since they, they handle all the inspections and landlord registrations. We'd want to try and give every eligible landlord the opportunity to apply. Certainly, they would need to have tenants that meet the minimum income limits. And then we'd also want to make sure that they can demonstrate that they were impacted by the pandemic and that they're also in good standing with the city. So we would definitely be soliciting feedback from property standards, and then potentially soliciting feedback from our landlords themselves. So I know we have 20,000 rental units, but a lot of them are going to be in the stock of greater than 6 units. So that number is going to be significantly less. We think that we can serve anywhere between 100 and 150 individual units, depending on the total cost for each unit. So that would be work on the back end if we were to receive the funding. Certainly, if City Council wanted to be interested in that participation to come up with the policy, design, and application, we'd be happy to do that.
Did I also read that in some instances, owner-occupied might be also considered?
So for this opportunity, we could assist single-family homes, but only if they were rented. So for this opportunity, homeowners living in owner-occupied housing wouldn't be able to qualify for this opportunity. But we still have our Safety First program, which is currently run by the Neighbor Project, and HVAC improvements are an eligible activity for them.
Thank you.
Alderman Lesh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know if what Alderman Denault was asking, what if one unit is owned by the property owner and the other one is owned by or rented by a tenant, would that be eligible?
So I believe so. We need to demonstrate that 51% of the units are housed in by those that are considered low income. So for a family of four, typically under 90,000 or so. So it's very possible if you have 5 units, only 3 of them would have to be documented low income. The other 2 could be potentially at any income level. However, I think built into the application, we'd want to make sure that we are trying to assist those that are market rate affordable housing and potentially not luxury apartments.
And then also, I know you haven't written the proposal, you're waiting for the money to come in, but probably consider end of life cycle for the HVAC equipment. I would think that would be a consideration.
Certainly, and that's where I think we'd want to work with our subject matter experts in property standards to come up with, what is the useful life cycle of some of these components. Most likely, we're going to have them inspected prior to determine, what work actually needs to take place. We don't want to make upgrades when the components there are in good standing or have, several years left on their life cycle.
And then my only other question is, roughly when do you expect to hear back with timeline as to when we'll may or may not get the grant?
So for the shelter expansion grant, I think we waited about 60 days after the due date. For here, the due date is the beginning of November, so it's possible by the end of the year we might hear back. Otherwise, I would expect probably in mid-January.
And then if you hear back positive that we'll get something, then you'll construct something, bring back to the committee for consideration.
So certainly, we'd need to work with the state on working through their preliminary, approval requirements. Then we'd have to, go through our own requirements, design our policy, solicit feedback, potentially conduct another public hearing. So, realistically, I think spring, if we were to receive these funds, is when we would probably launch.
No further questions, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Alderwoman Garza.
Chris, my question is, so you're saying electrical issues or furnace or things like that, right?
So this would be for HVAC improvements.
Uh-huh.
But sometimes with HVAC improvements, so let's say you need a new furnace, your electrical components may not be up to code or may not mesh with current technology. So if there's accessory improvements needed, such as electrical to go with the HVAC improvements, I believe we'd be able to include that in the scope of work.
Okay.
But we wouldn't be able to just go into a rental unit that has brand new HVAC equipment and improve their electrical structures, things like that.
Yeah, because we haven't here, the questions I have for like you apply for grants. So it's possible in the future to have applying to the state for grant to replace the pipes and inside the house. A lot of people have that question because they're using still the old pipes with the lead, and they concern very costly. So they asked me if the city want to have some kind of program or trying to have a grant to helping to replace inside the house. Because I know we can replace, city replacing right now in the streets, but not inside the house. So a lot of houses in Second Ward, they're still using the pipes, the lead. And so it doesn't matter how much running the water, if the lead is still in the water. So they have the question if you, in the city is in the future want to apply for a grant to helping with that.
So that would certainly be outside of the scope of this opportunity.
Yes.
However, we're always monitoring different grants that are available. Like I mentioned, round 2 of the 3 rounds that the state received is when the city is eligible to apply as its own entitlement. So we would continue to look at those opportunities. With our own entitlement funds, that's also certainly something we can look into. We'd have to do a little bit of research on the cost, to replace all of the water pipes of a home.
Yes.
Something like that could
Yeah,
be
yeah, we
very
need to do
expensive.
something with it, even if we're helping with something and maybe they can pay like when we did with the electrical, the historical lights, remember, Mike?
It's
So SSA, remember? So maybe something like that and helping with something and paying by SSA for maybe 10 years or something like that because it's really neat to replace all these pipes. Yeah. Okay.
Certainly, and we are in the midst of drafting our next 5-year plan for 2025 to 2029. So we will take that into consideration as we're trying to establish
Yes,
our
please.
goals.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Mr. Chair.
Alderman Masiacos?
Thank you. It sounds like you have a lot of whatever potential policies going to be put in place, thought out. It seems like there's certain rules that you can't really get around. Is that correct?
So certainly, for income, there's no getting around of that. 51% of the units need to be low income, so that's on a sliding scale based on household size. The actual costs need to go back to HVAC improvements. Where we have some flexibility is how we determine who is first priority, who is second priority, how we are approving our landlords and what we're factoring in when we're considering giving out these funds. As I mentioned, our goal is between 100 to 150. There's probably several thousand rentals under 6 units. So if everyone were to apply, think of back in 2020 when we did the small business assistance program. We utilized the lottery in that instance because we had, hundreds of applications and we were only able to assist, I think, 70 to 75. So that would be something on that back end that we really need to put some consideration in as to how we prioritize. Is it based on rents? Is it based on, folks who are very low income? Get first priority. There's a lot of things that we could do, but right now we're keeping it broad.
Well, it leads me to my next question, or my next thought, and that's you offered to bring back a policy for consideration for the city council maybe, or bring it back to committee. Which committee would that go to if you did? And if it did come back to a committee, would we have to make an amendment here to bring it back to a committee?
So
on
right
this
now,
legislation piece.
So right now by resolution, we're just asking for authorization to apply. We're not necessarily asking to establish the policies or the eligibility criteria. As far as what committee that would come through, that would be a question that I'd want to follow up with.
Is legal here by chance, or no? You don't have anybody here, or?
Good afternoon, Nydia Molina, Assistant Corporation Counsel. So my understanding is today the resolution is to ask permission or authorization to apply. The next step, if they do obtain that, I think it becomes an internal process of how that application is started. It is not going to be before a committee to approve their application or the process.
Okay, but he didn't say process, he said policy. And we are here too, as aldermen, part of our responsibility is policy. So I'm just going off of what Mr. Ragona said. So about if we're interested in reviewing the policy that's going to be put together, which committee would it come to? And would we have to, more importantly, make an amendment to this resolution that it will come before a committee, this policy that's being discussed and brought up to us?
I guess maybe Mr. Ragona can clarify that his use of the term policy. I think he probably meant the process and the application process and how that's going to be reviewed may not be necessarily a city policy or a city ordinance. So this resolution would not be affected by what happens on the next step. That would theoretically, could potentially be a separate issue if that's what the CBDG grant requires. So I don't know if you want to clarify your use of the term policy.
So for some of our currently open programs, like our down payment assistance program, we do maintain policies and procedures. It's a specific document that outlines the eligibility criteria, waivers, things like that. We have updated that in the past to reflect new information that's received, but historically, we haven't brought that back to City Council for approval.
Okay, so then my next question then, based on that response is, would we get a courtesy, at least email or memorandum in regards to what will be ultimately set up, and so we know what's happening with that process? Yeah.
So I think,
When it's all set up?
certainly, so should we receive funds, I think there are multiple divisions within the city that would benefit part of drafting the eligibility criteria. Certainly, we could extend that invitation to, you know, City Council, as we've done in the past, presenting ideas, soliciting feedback. So that is certainly a courtesy invite we could extend.
But also, ultimately, when it's all put in place, also maybe just an informative email, at least through a memorandum, has been done in the past. Is that to be expected, I would say, then?
Certainly. One of the
Okay.
other things we need to check with the state is if we do receive these funds, if there's any back-end, you know, approval criteria that are for us that we need to do on our end. So that could require an additional City Council authorization. We're not that far into the process yet to see
Okay.
what those
All right.
back-end steps are.
Okay.
With the shelter expansion grant that we received, we had to go down to Springfield for you know, for a 5-hour training where they presented a lot of back-end stuff that they didn't mention in the original application. So I could see that happening again if we were to receive these funds.
Okay. Well, thank you very much to both of you,
You're
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Alderman
Motion
Lesh.
to approve? Oh, not yet.
Just a real quick comment, seeing as how what you're looking at really doing is probably writing some kind of program, and it might not come back to this committee. I just want to weigh in on one thing. I do think it would be smart to include as a requirement in the program that you move to a smart meter where people can change and adjust their heat, a programmable smart thermostat as a requirement to maximize energy efficiency. No further comments. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And certainly, we're looking to increase efficiency and, you know, increase the quality of the air in the home. So I think that would be a reasonable, eligible activity we can consider.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, motion to approve.
Alderwoman Gaza made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Janelle. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, opposed, motion carried, 5-0. Okay, thank you,
Thank you.
Chris. Jennifer, are we ready? Okay, we'll go to the next item, 24-0737.
All right, good afternoon, Jennifer Stallings again. And I have with me Chad Gravenitas. He is the applicant and owner of the restaurant that's going in to 5 East Galena. So we are here for a liquor license application for Art House Aurora is the LLC. He's been working very hard to get this place up and running in time for the opening of the next show. I don't think it's a secret anymore because it's advertised at the Paramount. So that's October 30th. So that's why we are proposing, if this committee thinks it sounds okay and you're willing to pass it along to the next step, we're asking that it go into the City Council this evening, just to get that out there in front of everything. If you would like to know some of the specifics, I think Chad would love to answer some of those questions for you. If you'd like to know some of the technicalities, I can answer those for you as well.
Any questions of Jennifer before we ask Chad to speak? Alderman
Are
Janelle.
we looking at the subject property?
No.
I've had difficulty figuring out exactly where this is.
Yeah, it's the restaurant formerly known as Stope Island Social.
Okay.
Yep, over in the corner, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And then you confused me, Alderman, just that way, over
It's right
right
there.
next to the Paramount, kind of. Yep,
Okay.
yeah.
Mike?
Al-
So they want to
Alderman Garza.
have food in there or some appetizers or no?
Yes, ma'am, it's full food.
You have menu or no, you don't have menu?
Do you want to introduce yourself, Chad, for the
Hi,
record?
my name is Chad. My name is Chad Gravenitas, and as she said, we'll be opening the old Stope Island Social, and we will be a full bar and restaurant. We have full appetizers. We have menus, burger centric, but we'll also have entrees.
And Alderwoman, there is attached in the Legistar item, there is a draft menu. Chad was kind enough to put a draft on paper for us so that you can get an idea of the types of food that they're looking at.
Okay, okay.
Where's that at, the menu, Jennifer?
I didn't
No?
see it.
Okay, that
No.
you
We
may
don't
need
have it in
to.
there.
No, I
Is it
looked
in there?
in there, I
Okay.
didn't
May need to
find it.
refresh. So
Oh, okay.
it's quite diverse and impressive.
It's in the city council packet.
Oh, okay.
City council packet.
So you said your menu is burger-centric?
Burger Central, probably about 6 to 8 burgers. There's a lot on there now. We're gonna edit it down. That's just a draft for now, but we will be editing it down to probably about 6 burgers, probably about 5 entrees, some sandwiches as well. Doing oysters, we'll have. And
We're gonna have a
focus-
goat burgers?
Excuse me?
Goat burgers?
Actually, we're doing a lamb burger and a bison burger on there right
Okay,
now.
good. Okay.
So I pull up your menu now.
Is there feta on that lamb burger?
I believe there is supposed to be.
Wow. Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question?
Yes, Alderman
Thank you.
Masiacos.
It's exciting to see this menu. My first question is, you don't have price points on here.
We don't yet.
Is this going to be more of a family-friendly type two place? I notice your hours are, or your planned hours are 11 a.m. to 10 a.m.
So that's
typically.
good.
Yes.
Is that going to be day one, or is that going to
That's-
be where you want to be?
That's the plan from day one.
Okay.
We worked out with Tim over at Paramount, and one of the biggest complaints that sounded from the old place was it wasn't open enough, and gave Tim a promise, we'll be open from day one, want to be available at all times. Anybody come to the show, the locals, consistency is key in this business, so if we say we're going to be open, I want to be open.
Oh, fantastic,
hungry now.
fantastic. And so, like, again, is this going to be a place for a tablecloth burger place, or?
No,
Okay.
no, we want to be cost efficient. I don't want to price out, I don't want to price out anybody. So it's going to be a little upper casual is probably the best way to look at it. And I know we're not trying to be a steakhouse. We're not going to have anything $100 steak on there or anything, but we're going to be pretty approachable for the clientele going to the guests going to the Paramount, as well as the staff at the Paramount. We want to give a place where everybody kind of feels comfortable to hang out and enjoy a meal.
Well, I'm excited reading this menu. I think it's very creative, and without looking at the prices, I just feels like it's a family-oriented kind of place. You can come even when there's not a show. Maybe a family can come when they don't want to work with all the busyness of the theater, maybe even during the week.
Yep. That's the goal. We're kind of looking at the shows as kind of the icing on the cake. If we can do everything else correctly, the shows are going to be kind of a bonus.
Yeah, exciting. And is there an anticipated opening date?
Yeah, we were looking to open with the show. The show opens on the 30th, I believe.
Okay.
And we're trying a soft opening right around there, and then a full open on the 30th, which is a Wednesday.
Yeah, real excited for you.
Thank you. I
My
appreciate it.
And I like the hours, early, 11.
Yes,
So on Saturdays and Fridays is at 10 in the morning, right?
we're going to try to. That's the
Yeah.
plan, to have a brunch menu. There's not a brunch menu included in that menu, but we will have a brunch.
Good.
Great. Alderman Lesh?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a little bit about the overall approach and a little bit about your background. I'm assuming somewhat in the hospitality industry.
Oh, okay. Yep, I've been in the industry for a long time. I left for a little while. I did film production for about 5 years down in Florida, but decided get back into this. I helped open, my partner owns, and I helped open Barrel and Rye, Burger Local, Maze and Mash out in Glen Ellen. So things more out that way. It's our first thing in Aurora and out this way, but I opened all those. He's my partner in this place as well. And yeah, I started as a dishwasher, and then I was a bartender, GM, and I have a place currently in Batavia called The Goat. It's a burger place right in downtown Batavia. And like I said, this is going to be our first place out this way.
And as far as, since we're looking at a liquor license, specialty drinks, are you just beer, wine,
Oh
hard
no,
liquor?
we're gonna have a whole craft cocktail menu. We're gonna go pretty big on whiskeys and tequilas is gonna be a big focus, and then we'll have a pretty substantial cocktail list as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Motion to approve?
It's been motion made by Alderman Garza. Is there a
Second.
second? Second by Alderman Lash. Any further discussions, either Chad or Jennifer? Well, we wish you the best and much luck and much
Thank you.
success.
I appreciate it very much.
All in
Thank you.
favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye opposed, motion carried 5-0. Thank you. Any other business to come before the PHS&T committee?
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
Motion been made by Alderman Lesh for adjournment, second by Alderwoman Garza. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, motion carried 5-0. We are adjourned at 4:26 PM. Thank you, one and all.